For decades have passed since Pale Rider brought Clint Eastwood's mysterious preacher to life, reviving the Western genre with its gripping story and stunning cinematography. The film remains a classic, beloved by fans for its intense action and timeless themes of justice and vengeance. But what happened to the cast who helped make Pale Rider a standout hit? Some went on to have long and successful careers in Hollywood, while others stepped away from the limelight. Sadly, some have passed on, leaving behind lasting legacies. From career triumphs to personal tragedies, let's take a look at where the stars of Pale Rider are now in 2025. Carrie Snodgress played Sarah Wheeler in Pale Rider in 1985 at the age of 40. Sarah was a strong yet weary woman, torn between her duty to her family and a yearning for something more. Carrie rose to fame with her Oscar-nominated role in Diary of a Mad Housewife, but made the shocking decision to step away from Hollywood at the height of her career to be with Neil Young. Their relationship was turbulent and ended bitterly, leaving her to raise their son, Zeke, who was born with severe cerebral palsy. Struggling financially, she returned to acting but never regained her former status. Her later years were marred by legal battles over unpaid medical bills and a troubled marriage to painter Robert Jones, which ended in separation. As her health declined, so did her opportunities, and she spent her final years in relative obscurity. On April 1, 2004, she passed away from heart failure at the age of 58, her once promising career long behind her. Richard Dysart played Coy Hood in Pale Rider in 1985 at the age of 56. Coy was a ruthless capitalist, a man who saw power and wealth as his birthright, no matter the human cost. Richard's life, though far less sinister, was not without its own tragedies. A character actor rather than a leading man, he found success later in life with his Emmy-winning role in L.A. Law, but never achieved true stardom. Despite decades in Hollywood, he remained something of an outsider, never quite fitting into the glamorous world of A-list actors. His marriage to Catherine Jacoby was stable but childless, leaving him without a direct family legacy. In his final years, he suffered a grueling battle with cancer, which left him frail and withdrawn. By the time he passed away on April 5, 2015, at 86, he had been all but forgotten by Hollywood, his death barely making headlines. Penn portrayed Josh LaHood in Pale Rider in 1985 at the age of 20. Josh was a hot-headed and impulsive young man, desperate for his father's approval. Chris, the younger brother of Sean Penn, constantly struggled with living in his brother's shadow. While he found success in films like Reservoir Dogs and True Romance, he was plagued by addiction, weight gain, and self-destructive behavior. Despite his talent, he became known more for his off-screen troubles than his acting. He never married and had no children, often withdrawing from friends and family as his personal demons consumed him. As his health declined, he faced severe financial difficulties, and Hollywood slowly turned its back on him. On January 24, 2006, he was found dead in his Santa Monica apartment at the age of 40, his death ruled as heart disease exacerbated by drug use and obesity. His passing was a stark reminder of the harsh price of excess and loneliness in Hollywood. Richard Kiel portrayed Club in Pale Rider in 1985 at the age of 46. Club was a towering, wordless enforcer, a figure of raw power and intimidation. Richard's own life was equally defined by his massive size, caused by the rare disorder acromegaly. While his role as Jaws in the James Bond films made him a pop culture icon, it also trapped him in a cycle of typecasting. Few directors saw past his intimidating frame, limiting his career opportunities. Despite these setbacks, he found solace in his personal life, enjoying a stable marriage with Diane Rogers and raising 4 children. However, his health deteriorated as he aged, his mobility declined, forcing him to rely on canes and wheelchairs, and chronic pain haunted his later years. Financial struggles followed, as Hollywood had little use for an aging giant. On September 10, 2014, he died of a heart attack at 74, his once mighty presence reduced by years of suffering. Fran Ryan played Ma Blankenship in Pale Rider, 1985, at 69, perfectly embodying the tough, no-nonsense matriarch who offered wisdom and strength to those around her. She had a long career in television and westerns, often cast in supporting roles that never quite allowed her to shine. Despite appearing in numerous beloved productions such as Gunsmoke and Green Acres, she remained underappreciated, forever a background presence. Off-screen, her life was marked by deep loneliness. Her husband abandoned her early in their marriage, leaving her to raise their daughter, Eleanor, on her own. But acting consumed her, and Eleanor grew resentful, eventually severing ties completely. Fran's later years were marked by isolation. She lived alone, her only comfort coming from the stray animals she took in. Despite her extensive career, Hollywood moved on without her, and by the time she passed away on January 15, 2000, at the age of 83, few in the industry even acknowledged her passing. John Russell played Stockburn in Pale Rider in 1985 at the age of 64. Stockburn was a relentless enforcer, a man whose only loyalty was to the highest bidder, a character that reflected the hard-edged, no-nonsense persona John often played in his westerns. Once a rising star in classic Hollywood, John's career declined with the fall of the western genre, leaving him struggling to find meaningful work in his later years. Though married, his home life was far from ideal. His dedication to acting left little room for family, and emotional distance grew between him and his loved ones. His twilight years were marked by health issues, including chronic lung disease from years of smoking, and the bitter realization that he had outlived his own career. He died on January 18, 1991, at the age of 70, succumbing to respiratory failure, his name largely forgotten by the time of his passing. Charles Hallahan played McGill in Pale Rider, 1985, at 42, bringing to life a loyal and resilient miner determined to protect his fellow workers from corporate exploitation. A seasoned character actor, Hallahan was best known for his roles in The Thing, 1982, and Hunter, 1984-1991, yet his career was riddled with frustration. He never escaped typecasting, often relegated to gruff authority figures or blue-collar tough guys. While his performances were widely respected, the industry never truly rewarded him, leaving him embittered by missed opportunities. His marriage to Barbara crumbled after years of neglect, exacerbated by his growing dependence on alcohol. Though he had 2 sons, Michael and Thomas, his relationship with them was strained, as they struggled with his absence and unpredictable temper. In the years leading up to his death, Hallahan battled depression and declining health, yet continued working relentlessly. His career and life came to a tragic end on November 25, 1997 at 54, when he suffered a fatal heart attack while driving. Richard Hamilton played Jed Blankenship in Pale Rider, 1985, at 65, portraying a gentle and kind-hearted miner who stood as a beacon of decency in a ruthless world. A dependable character actor, he appeared in Men in Black, 1997, and Law and Order, yet he never found true fame. Hamilton spent much of his career struggling financially, taking any role offered just to survive. His personal life was equally fraught. His marriage disintegrated under the weight of unpaid bills and constant travel, and his only son, Daniel, became estranged, blaming his father for his unstable upbringing. In his later years, Hamilton faced mounting medical issues, including severe arthritis and vision loss, rendering him unable to work. By the time he passed away on December 21, 2004, at the age of 83, he was living in near poverty in a care facility, largely forgotten by the industry that had once relied on his quiet brilliance. Billy Drago played Deputy Mather in Pale Rider, 1985, at 40, portraying a cunning and ruthless lawman who wielded authority with a chilling intensity. A master of villainous roles, he gained further notoriety in The Untouchables, 1987, and Charmed, 1998 to 2004, yet he longed to play more complex characters. Trapped by his sinister image, he struggled to break free from Hollywood's narrow vision of him. His marriage to actress Silvana Gallardo was passionate but fraught with long separations, fueled by career ambitions that often took precedence over their relationship. His son Darren grew up feeling disconnected from his father, resenting the man he saw more on screen than in real life. As he aged, Billy's health began to fail, and a severe stroke on June 24, 2019 left him weakened and unable to speak properly. Isolated and frustrated, he passed away later that year at 73, leaving behind a legacy of characters as dark as the struggles he faced in real life. Robert Winley played Deputy Cobalt in Pale Rider, 1985, at 33, portraying a tough, dedicated lawman whose stern approach made him both feared and respected. Though he found fleeting recognition as the menacing biker in Terminator 2, Judgment Day, 1991, he was perpetually typecast in similar roles, never granted the opportunity to showcase his full range. His frustrations boiled over into his personal life, causing irreparable damage to his marriage with his wife Linda. She eventually left, taking their young son Peter with her, a loss Winley never fully recovered from. As work dried up and rejection became his daily reality, he turned to alcohol, numbing himself to the pain of his failures. In 1999, he was diagnosed with brain cancer, a cruel twist of fate that left him physically and financially devastated. His final years were spent in agony, with mounting medical bills and no family by his side. He passed away on October 21, 2001, at just 48. Terrence Evans played Jake Henderson in Pale Rider, 1985, at the age of 51, portraying a brave and determined miner fighting to protect his land and livelihood. His character embodied resistance against oppression, yet in real life, Terrence struggled against forces he could not control. Though he appeared in numerous films and TV shows, he was forever typecast as an old-timer, never given the chance to showcase his full potential. His marriage to his wife, Margaret, was marred by infidelity on both sides, and their 3 children grew up in a household filled with resentment and bitterness. By the time he reached his 60s, his health began to decline, and his battle with heart disease became his greatest fight. On August 7, 2015, at the age of 81, he succumbed to heart failure in a small, underfunded hospital, far from the bright lights of Hollywood, his death barely making the news. Buddy Van Horn portrayed the stage driver, as Wayne Van Horn, in Pale Rider, 1985, at 57, playing a steady, responsible figure ensuring the safe passage of passengers. His true career, however, was in the grueling world of stunt work, where he doubled for Clint Eastwood and endured countless injuries that left his body battered. Despite working with some of Hollywood's biggest names, he was never in the spotlight, a fact that quietly tormented him. His marriage to Linda fell apart due to his obsession with work, and their children, Scott and Melissa, grew up barely knowing him. By his 70s, decades of physical punishment caught up to him, leaving him in chronic pain. His savings disappeared after a series of bad investments, forcing him into near poverty. On May 11, 2021, Buddy Van Horn passed away at the age of 92. Though he never sought the limelight, his name remains honored among those who understand the immense sacrifices made by Hollywood's unsung stunt performers. George Orrison played Stationmaster Whitey in Pale Rider, 1985, at the age of 56, portraying a dependable and hardworking man ensuring the smooth operation of the station. In reality, George was much the same, a dedicated stuntman and character actor who worked tirelessly but never achieved recognition. His life was marked by hardship. His marriage to his high school sweetheart, Alice, crumbled under the weight of his constant absence and financial instability. They had 2 sons, Kevin and Mark, But neither followed in his footsteps, preferring to distance themselves from a father who had nothing to show for his years in Hollywood. By the time he reached his 80s, dementia had stolen most of his memories, leaving him confused and alone. On March 1, 2001, at the age of 71, he passed away in a care facility, his name barely remembered even by those who had worked alongside him. Michael Moriarty portrayed Hull Barrett in Pale Rider at 44, a determined and honest miner fighting against corruption. While he had a celebrated career in the 1970s, including an Emmy win, his outspoken views and erratic behavior led to his downfall. His alcoholism became notorious, causing erratic outbursts that got him fired from Law and Order in the 1990s. A self-imposed exile to Canada followed, where he drifted between failed artistic projects, his talent overshadowed by self-destruction. His personal life fared no better. His first marriage collapsed under the weight of his addiction, and his son, Matthew, cut ties with him long ago. Living in near destitution, he was forced to take menial jobs, performing music in bars for tips. In 2025, at 83, he lives in obscurity, struggling with memory loss and lingering health issues caused by decades of excess, a once brilliant actor now a tragic relic of what might have been. Clint Eastwood played the preacher in Pale Rider in 1985 at 55, a silent yet formidable force who delivers justice with cold precision. While his legacy as an actor and director is undeniable, his personal journey was far from serene. Despite major successes like Unforgiven and $1 Million Baby, Eastwood's private life was plagued by failed relationships, fathering at least 8 children with multiple women, many of whom he emotionally distanced himself from. His longest relationship, with Dina Ruiz, ended in a bitter divorce in 2014, leaving him isolated in his later years. His body, once a symbol of rugged strength, deteriorated with age, and by 2023, severe arthritis and declining cognitive function made public appearances rare. In 2025, at 94, he remains reclusive in his Carmel home, surrounded by memories of a golden past but tormented by loneliness and regret, his once mighty presence now a frail whisper of what once was. Sidney Penny played Megan Wheeler in Pale Rider at 14, an innocent and wide-eyed young girl who idolized the preacher. Her acting career continued with soap operas like Santa Barbara and All My Children, but childhood fame cast a long shadow over her life. The pressure to remain young and desirable led to years of eating disorders and self-esteem battles, and her attempts to transition into more mature roles largely failed. In 1995, she married producer Robert Powers, believing she had found stability, but the marriage became an emotional prison, full of silent resentment. Years of unsuccessful fertility treatments left her heartbroken, and by the mid-2010s, she withdrew from Hollywood, attempting to reinvent herself as a small business owner. In 2025, at 53, she leads a quiet life in North Carolina, running a struggling store and finding solace in caring for abandoned animals, the only ones who never let her down. John Dennis Johnston played Deputy Tucker in Pale Rider in 1985 at the age of 35, giving life to a tough, no-nonsense lawman dedicated to maintaining order in a lawless town. Despite securing steady work in Hollywood, often playing villains or rough-edged lawmen in films like 48 Hours and Wyatt Earp, Johnston was never a household name. Typecast and undervalued, he struggled to escape the shadow of his early roles, watching younger actors surpass him. His marriage to fellow actress Sharon crumbled under the strain of financial troubles and his frequent infidelity. Their 2 children, Angela and Kevin, suffered through their parents' bitter custody battles, and by their teenage years, neither wanted anything to do with him. In the early 2010s, his health began to deteriorate due to years of heavy drinking, leading to multiple hospitalizations. As his body weakened, so did his will to fight. Now, in 2025, at 74 years old, he lives in an assisted living facility, his once strong presence diminished to a frail shadow. Doug McGrath portrayed Spider Conway in Pale Rider at 50, a steadfast and courageous miner willing to stand up for his friends. Though he found steady work in film and television, true recognition remained just out of reach, leaving him forever in the shadows of bigger stars. As the years passed, his career dwindled to minor guest appearances, forcing him to take on blue-collar jobs to make ends meet. Alcohol became his solace, driving a wedge between him and his loved ones, including his wife, who left him, taking their only daughter. As roles dried up, financial instability became a cruel reality, and by the 2010s, he lived in a modest apartment in British Columbia, surviving on meager savings. Now, in 2025, at 89 years old, Doug McGrath enjoys a quiet retirement in British Columbia. Though long removed from the Hollywood spotlight, he remains active in local arts communities, occasionally attending film retrospectives and sharing stories of his time in the industry. S.A. Griffin portrayed Deputy Folke in Pale Rider in 1985 at the age of 31, playing a determined lawman maintaining order in the mining town. Though he continued acting in television and independent films, mainstream success eluded him, leading him to poetry and spoken-word performances to supplement his income. His personal life was equally turbulent. His first wife left him for another actor, and his second marriage ended in devastation when his son, James, disappeared in 2007 without a trace. The grief consumed him, leading to multiple arrests for public intoxication and erratic behavior. The 2010s saw him struggling financially, at times living in his car or on the generosity of old friends. Now, in 2025, at 70 years old, he lives in a rundown trailer park, surviving on a meager pension, his once vibrant artistic spirit buried beneath years of sorrow and regret. Herman Poppe played Ulrich Lindquist in Pale Rider in 1985 at the age of 41, embodying the role of a strong yet silent miner. Though he appeared in a handful of projects, his acting career was short-lived, and he struggled to find consistent work. Desperate for stability, he invested in multiple failed business ventures, losing most of his savings. His second marriage to Lisa ended in a bitter divorce after years of arguments and financial woes, leaving him estranged from his only daughter, Clara, who moved abroad and severed contact. Behind the scenes, he battled severe depression and undiagnosed bipolar disorder, resulting in hospitalizations and periods of homelessness. By the 2010s, his physical health deteriorated due to years of neglect. Now, in 2025, at 80 years old, he resides in a state-run nursing home in Arizona, his mind fading from dementia, unable to recall the fleeting moments of his time on screen. Jeffrey Weissman played Teddy Conway in Pale Rider at 27, portraying a young, eager miner full of determination. Though he briefly gained mainstream attention for replacing Crispin Glover in Back to the Future Part 2 and 3, the role became a double-edged sword, forever marking him as a mere stand-in rather than a rising star. His career stagnated, with offers limited to bit parts and commercial gigs, while Hollywood largely ignored his talent. His marriage, once a refuge from industry disappointments, crumbled under the weight of financial strain and his growing bitterness. His two children, weary of his unfulfilled dreams and constant grievances, drifted away. Clinging to past glories, he turned to the convention circuit, eking out a living by signing autographs and recounting the same stories to dwindling crowds. By 2025, at 66, he lives in a small California apartment, struggling with chronic back pain and financial insecurity. Randy Oglesby portrayed Elam in Pale Rider in 1985 at the age of 36, bringing depth to the role of a steadfast miner fighting against oppression. His acting career was filled with minor TV roles, but he never broke into stardom. Financial struggles haunted him, leading to mounting debts and eventual foreclosure on his home. His marriage to Linda, initially strong, crumbled under the weight of his unfulfilled ambitions and long absences, leading to a bitter divorce. His two sons, Matthew and Brian, grew up resenting his failures, and tragedy struck when Brian took his own life at 24. Overcome with guilt and despair, Randy turned to alcohol, isolating himself from friends and family. By the 2010s, he was rarely seen in public, living reclusively. Now, in 2025, at 76 years old, he suffers from chronic illness, surviving on a meager pension in a rundown Texas apartment, a forgotten figure from Hollywood's past. Who's your favorite character from Pale Rider? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.